Hello, so this is Drugs in Perspective, Chapter 4, Assessment of Substance Abuse, Dependence, and Addiction. Introduction. The major goal of this chapter is to help the reader define substance abuse, substance dependence, and addiction, and to identify the various stages of use. The chapter also focuses both on screening and assessment tools, and on clinical questions and assessment strategies. Diagnostic criteria, categories, The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, is a primary reference used by mental health practitioners to diagnose both mental disorders and substance-related disorders. Substance-related disorders are divided into two major categories. Substance use disorders, these include substance dependence and substance abuse, and substance-induced disorders. These include substance intoxication and substance withdrawal. A behavioral definition of addiction. In the early 1980s, the rise in cocaine use challenged the basic framework of our definition of alcohol and drug addiction. Cocaine was previously thought to be a drug that cured psychological dependence with no physical dependence. At that time, we defined addiction as a physical dependence measured by a significant and noticeable medical withdrawal symptom. Alcoholism and drug addiction are best described metaphorically as the dragon in the corner eating its own tail. The three basic components of the behavioral definition of addiction are the 3 C's: compulsion, control, and consequences. So 1, compulsion with obsession. Users think about alcohol and drugs in a vicious negative cycle. Their obsessive concerns with preoccupation follow an incessant use of alcohol, drugs in a continuous pattern and compulsive lifestyle. 2, control. Inability to stop using the substance. Users cannot stop using alcohol or drugs for at least 3 months and or make feeble attempts to cut back in a stop and then start pattern. 3, continued use despite consequences. Users are caught up in their addictions, illustrating the pervasive defense mechanisms of denial. Set and setting. The 3 major components of alcohol and drug use are the individual, the drug, and the set and setting in which the drug is taken. Set and setting often determine the individual's reaction to alcohol and drugs. As mentioned in an earlier chapter, set refers to the physiological and emotional frame of mind of the person when using alcohol or drugs. Those who are relaxed, comfortable, and secure in the knowledge that they can handle possibly losing control usually have less trouble with the initial use of alcohol or drugs. Setting involves not only the physical environment, but also the social and interpersonal environment. Negative drug reactions may be the result of being in an uncomfortable setting with unknown people who are not trusted. Alcohol drug use, a progressive disease. Certainly, the beginning of alcohol and drug use starts with the initial contact. Because alcohol drug use is a progressive drug use is a progressive disease, individuals get more involved as they progress through the stages. So addiction. Addiction is the last stage based on our definition of addiction and the disease model. An addict cannot return to any previous stage of alcohol or drug use. The best recovery strategy is to abstain from alcohol and drug use and to participate in a 12-step program. Chronic alcoholics and drug addicts spend majority portions of their lives addicted to alcohol and drugs. In this last stage of chronic addiction, they are extremely difficult to treat. Some new approaches are required for this population, such as providing basic needs for shelter, food, and other health-related services, and educational and counseling services. These programs for chronic alcoholics emphasize maintaining the individual's dignity while providing access to recovery services. Vulnerability to relapse. At each stage of recovery, individuals are vulnerable to relapse or a return to alcohol or /drug abuse or addiction. Therefore, all chemical dependency treatment programs must address relapse issues. Assessment for relapse. We have diagnostic criteria for the different alcohol, drug disorders, but no criteria for relapse. This is a symbolic in the need of to shift more focus on relapse dynamics and relapse prevention. As Mark Twain put it is easy to quit smoking. I've done it hundreds of times. Alcohol and drug assessment. Recovery from alcohol and drugs also involves the family of the alcoholic/addict. The family system is an integral part of the development of the disease. The most difficult work in recovery is dealing with the family issues and relationships to help family members recover from dysfunctional patterns in the family system. The most important task is assessing the potential for problems with alcohol and drugs, is determining if there is a family history of alcohol or drug abuse and addiction. Family members may deny the extent of the alcohol and drug use in the family. It might take additional questioning to clarify the true dimensions of family use of alcohol and drugs. To assess an individual's alcohol and drug problem, counselors need the following information: age of initial drug/alcohol use, frequency of use, amount used, set and setting of use, patterns of use, binges, periods of non-use, stage of current use, history of negative consequences, physical, psychological, financial, familial, and spiritual, medical history, and the use of coffee, cigarettes, and medications. So this is the CAGE screening tool I found. It's a questionnaire to help screen for alcoholism. 2 yes responses indicate that the response should be further investigated. So, have you ever felt the need to cut down on your drinking? Have people annoyed you by criticizing your drinking? Have you ever felt guilty about drinking? And have you ever felt you need a drink first thing in the morning to steady your nerves to get rid of a hangover? An extremely important area of assessment is the consequences of alcohol and drug use. Remember, the third criteria of addiction is continued use despite adverse consequences. Another key assessment issue with alcohol is the potential for suicide. Some common assessment questions for suicide are as follows. Is there a family history of alcohol or drug problems, suicide, or depression? Do you use alcohol or drugs to A, overcome bad, shameful feelings, B, deal with sleeping problems, depression, or quiet suicidal thoughts? Do you have suicidal thoughts? How will you do it? Do you have a plan? Have you previously had suicidal thoughts? And have you attempted suicide before?
I do appreciate your participation in the intake so far. I want to change to a new section, if that's okay with you. And this section is on substance use. Is that an area you feel comfortable discussing?
Sure.
All right. So, are there any substances that you currently use?
I drink a bit.
Can you tell me how often you drink?
I guess it's more than a bit. I would say I have probably 3 drinks a day.
And what are you drinking?
Beer.
Yeah. Do you know what size?
The bottles, I think there's 16 ounces.
3 bottles of beer a day?
Yeah.
And how much time does it take you to consume those?
Probably a couple of hours.
So, every day, 3 beers in about 2 hours.
Yeah.
Does that do anything to you in terms of your mood or feeling?
It just kind of helps me unwind after a long day of work, relaxes me.
So it's relaxing for you?
Yeah.
Has it ever gotten you into any type of trouble?
There was one time that my friends and I kind of got into a fight after I had been drinking, and we almost stopped talking because of it, but we were able to work it out. But I've almost lost friends over it before.
All right. Is there any other areas where it might disrupt functioning?
Sometimes it's hard to get up and get to work the next morning after if I drink it like later in the day, it's hard to get up and get to work on time the next morning. So I've been late a couple of times too.
All right. So, three bottles of beer, pretty much every day?
Pretty much every day.
Pretty much every day. Has there ever been a time when you've consumed more or less in a particular day?
Not typically during the week, but sometimes I'll drink more on the weekends. I'll maybe drink like my normal 3 in a couple of hours, and then maybe 3 or 4 hours later I'll have a couple more.
You have a few more.
Yeah.
And how long have you been drinking alcohol?
I guess I started when I was around 17.
17?
Yeah.
Now you mentioned beer. Have you ever consumed any other type of alcohol?
I've tried wine and shots before, but I always kind of just gravitate more towards the beer.
Back toward beer?
Yeah.
Right. Any other substances that you use currently?
On the weekends, every once in a while, I'll smoke some pot with my friends, like Saturday night.
That's pretty much just weekends?
Sometimes during the week, like before I go to sleep, I'll have a joint. Just it helps my anxiety and my worries before I go to bed.
All right. When did you first start using marijuana?
That was probably a couple years ago when I first started college.
About 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And on the weekends, sometimes, other times?
Yeah, actually I guess it's more on the weekends, but I would say maybe every other day during the week.
So mostly on the weekends, occasionally during the week. Has it ever led to any trouble or change in functioning?
On the weekends, no, because I don't really have anywhere to be, but sometimes during the week if I again, kind of like the alcohol, if I smoke it too late, again, it's hard to get up in the morning and get to work on time, and my boss is really starting to get irritated with me with how often I've been late. Not that I'm like super late, but I'm late enough.
Have you ever tried to cut down on the substance use, alcohol or marijuana?
I've tried to cut back on the alcohol before. About a year ago, I tried. I was when I started this job that I have now. I tried to cut back when I first started, and I was able to get down to like 1 or 2 beers instead of 3. But then the job got stressful, and I got comfortable, I guess, and started drinking more again.
So you think perhaps the alcohol use is connected to the stress with your job?
I would say it's definitely connected.
All right. Have you ever been annoyed by people that perhaps criticize your substance use?
Yeah, my family can be critical of. They don't really know about the marijuana, but they can be critical of my alcohol use.
All right. And that bothers you?
Yeah.
Have you ever felt bad or guilty about your substance use?
I felt guilty with my mom because it upsets her so much sometimes. Like, I'll feel guilty about how my substance abuse upsets her. And sometimes I'll feel bad, like, if I have a fight with my friends, if I'm drunk, I'll feel bad the next day about getting into an argument with them, because it's usually over something silly.
All right. Have you ever had to drink or use drugs first thing in the morning to steady your nerves or to lessen the effects of a hangover?
I would say not during the week, but on the weekends when I'll drink a little bit more, sometimes I'll have just a little bit. Like if I drink Saturday night, I'll have a little bit Sunday morning to just get going. in the morning.
So on occasion that happens?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's often, but on occasion.
So alcohol and marijuana, two substances you currently use.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me about substances you used in the past?
At a party one time, I tried ecstasy, but I didn't like it, and I ended up not really hanging out with those people anymore, so it wasn't an issue.
So just the one time?
Yeah, just the one time.
All right.
In high school, my friends, a lot of my friends were smokers, so I smoked cigarettes, but it just made me feel sick, and I didn't really like it very much. It didn't really do anything for me, so that didn't last long.
So you discontinued?
Yeah, that didn't last long at all.
All right. Any other substances, or just those two?
Just those two that I'm currently using, and then just the smoking and the ecstasy previously.
All right. Do you have a family history of substance use?
My grandfather, my mom claims that my grandfather was an alcoholic.
All right. Any other history?
No, not that I'm aware of, at least.
Before I move to the next section of the intake, while we're still talking about substance use, is there anything else you want to add? Any other comments you want to make about this section?
I don't think so. I think that covers it.
Does that cover it pretty well?
Yeah.
All right. I appreciate you answering these questions, and if you're okay, I'm going to move from this section and move to the next section of the intake.
Okay.
Hi Jill, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right.
Doing all right?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better.
Feeling a little better? I know you've been down for a while. What's going on?
I just feel like everything's gonna be okay.
And this is unusual for you, because usually when you come in and talk to me, you're kind of down, a little depressed. Something changed recently?
I feel like I found the solution, and I know what I'm gonna do, so I'm not really worried about my depression, so I guess I'm feeling a little bit better about it.
Can you tell me about the solution you found for your depression?
Yeah, I know we've talked about it before. I think that I'm gonna commit suicide.
You want to commit suicide? Do you know how you did that?
Yeah, I have some pills in my house in the medicine cabinet, and I'm gonna take those.
And when do you plan on doing this?
Probably a couple days from now. I have some things to get in order.
Mm-hmm.
I want to, arrange things and make sure that, everything's in order, and then I'll do it.
What kind of things do you need to arrange?
I want to make sure that all the documents my husband's going to need, that they're in a place that he can find them. I'm not going to tell him, but I want, I don't want to make things more difficult for him, and just that kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like, make sure that everything's in order so that when I'm gone, everybody has what they need.
Now, Jill, you've been seeing me for almost a year now, and you know by telling me this that I'm going to act to stop you. Right? I'm going to try to stop you from killing yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the end it's what's going to make things better. But I guess there's still a part of me that doesn't want to die, doesn't want to do that to my family, so I guess I'm telling you because, I'm not 100% resolved, and I guess I wanted to talk it over.
Mm-hmm. You seem pretty serious, though, about your timetable and your plan.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when you plan to go on a weekend trip. You're pretty sure you're going to go, but if the weather's bad, you might not. So I think, I'm pretty sure.
Is there anything that can stop you?
I don't know. I feel pretty sure about it.
Do you feel like it's the depression or something else that drove you to this decision?
I feel like it's just, the same old things that I was worried about before, the depression and my relational issues, my job, like the stuff that gets me down, and it just clicked, and it was like, I've thought about it before, but like I feel like I'm gonna feel better. I feel like I'm gonna feel better, so.
As you said, it's a solution. Right?
Yeah.
You feel like you come with a solution.
Yeah.
All right, now we've talked about this issue in the past,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when you've come in feeling this way, kind of resolved to harm yourself, we sent you over to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's not your favorite place, but when you go there for however long it's been, usually about 5 days, you come out feeling a lot better.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this time would be different?
Well, I feel like in the past, I've been thinking about killing myself seriously, but now I'm not as scared of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really want you to put me in the hospital, because then I won't be able to do it. And before I was scared, so I wanted you to put me in the hospital. But now I just want to get it over with, and so I really don't want you to do that.
So it's like a part of you saying that you don't want me to stop you, but yet you came in here and you told me.
Yeah.
So part of you seems to be maybe not quite sure.
I guess there'll always be a part of me that's a human, that's scared to die. And I care about you, I know you're my counselor, but like we've had a relationship, and we talk about these kinds of things, and I felt like I owed it to you to, be honest with you about how I was feeling, because we've had that relationship in the past. And so I guess I came here because of that, and because I felt like I just wanted to talk it over, before I did it, because I come to you to talk about what I'm thinking, and so I felt like this would help me, like, gain the final clarity that I needed.
Has it helped you gain any clarity?
I don't know, I guess I see that you're saying that, like, I really need to go to the hospital. I guess I was hoping a little bit that you would be happy for me that I was feeling better, but I think that you want me to go to the hospital, so I don't know. It makes me think about whether it's the right decision,
You mean the suicide?
Yeah.
Sometimes, and you've been with me, like I said, about almost a year now, and you've been depressed much of that time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not unusual when somebody thinks they found a solution to depression, even if that solution is something that I am against, like suicide, that their mood would become elevated because you see an end to the pain.
Mm-hmm.
There's other things we can do, and have done in the past, to try to get you out of pain.
Mm-hmm. But we have done them in the past, and I didn't feel better, and now I am feeling better, so, I just want you to accept that.
But I'm not going to. It's my obligation, whether I'm happy to fulfill, to try to keep you alive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I've seen you this way before, and I know it may not seem this way now, but when you came out from the suicidal thoughts and the feelings, you did well for weeks, sometimes months at a time. You're seeing really just the darkest when you're in the...
Yeah, but I'm feeling better now.
Temporarily,
Mm-hmm.
right, because you feel you found an end to the pain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I understand. I mean, I understand you're feeling better, but you're feeling better because you plan on killing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about how devastating that would be to your family, right? To your friends. You have
but
all
I'm
these
just
goals in your
torturing
life.
them with my sadness. I'm just making their lives miserable. I don't understand how it's gonna help them for me to stay alive. You know, I'm worth more. They can have my life insurance, and you know, I won't make them suffer anymore.
So your logic is that if you end your life, you'll free them from having to deal with you.
Yeah.
And
It feels like the right thing to do.
And as you know, I mean, you've signed releases. I've talked to your husband, your parents. They repeatedly said that despite sometimes the challenge of dealing with your depression, they would much rather have you alive. Now, why would they say that?
I think that they're scared of the pain of losing me, but I know that they'll feel better eventually.
So they'll get over the grief.
Yeah.
I understand.
And I think that they'll understand that I needed this.
You know, I've been doing this for a while, right? I think we've come to have a good relationship, right?
Yeah.
And I would hope that I've earned your trust and you value my opinion. Can I share with you something that I know about suicide?
Sure.
You open to hearing it?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of ways that people die, right? And it's really what eventually will happen to us all. It's hard for me to imagine a way more devastating than suicide. Meaning, when somebody dies of an illness or a car accident or any other type of tragic accident, people grieve, right? But there's usually not a blame assigned to that. I mean, they don't feel guilty. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
They feel sad because they've lost the person, but they don't feel responsible for that person's death. Suicide is different. When somebody commits suicide, their family and friends feel responsible. They have no answers to all the questions that they have. They can never get answers.
I'm gonna write them a note and tell them everything and tell them it's not their fault, because it's not their fault, and I just want them to be happy without me.
So you believe the note will take away all that pain?
No, but I think that it'll help them realize that they shouldn't feel guilty like you're saying.
It'll mitigate that pain.
Yeah.
Okay. I can tell you from experience that notes don't really help. If anything, it's another artifact that they can agonize over. I know it's hard to see from your perspective because you're kind of resolved to this and you feel stuck in the pain, you want out. But they will miss you and they will agonize for the rest of their lives because they lost you. And it's a special, horrible type of agony that comes with feeling responsible for causing someone's death. And I know you don't want that.
I just want to feel better. I just don't know why you can't let me feel better.
I know it's frustrating, and I know it's hard to understand. The times when you've gone to the hospital before, you have felt better. Your outlook was completely different. Not 100%, but it was completely different when you came out. Right? I mean, you're still a little down, but nowhere near the depression where you'd want to hurt yourself. Is it possible that if you go to the hospital this time, you could come out feeling better again?
Yeah, it's possible.
I'm going to make arrangements to get you out of the hospital. I know you don't. And we've had this conversation before, right? I realize that, you're not happy with some of the conditions there, but you usually talk finally about the groups, right? You usually do well in the groups. And typically, well, every time, right? Every time you've been in the hospital, you've come out feeling better. I know it's not what you want to hear. I know you want me to be happy that you're going to end your life, but that wouldn't make me happy. That wouldn't make anybody happy. I know you think it would make you happy, but I can tell you it's not the answer. I'd like you to go voluntarily through this process. Will you do that? You'll go? All right. So I'm going to make arrangements to get you there. And when you're there and they're getting ready to discharge you, make sure you set up an appointment to see me right away. Right? Because usually they only keep you about 5, maybe 10 days the most. So I know they take care of this, but I'm going to ask you this too. Make sure that you have an appointment set up to see me so I can see you right after you get out, okay? Can you do that for me? All right. I'm going to go make those arrangements, and we'll get you over there, okay?